Шановні колеги,
Dear colleagues, dear journalists, the Ukraine Crisis Media Center continues its work. Today, we have a very important topic. This is presentation of the new award. This is Drahoman Prize for translators from Ukrainian to foreign languages. I'm really glad to introduce our speakers today. Andrii Kurkov, writer, president of PEN Ukraine, Tetiana Filevska, creative director of the Ukrainian Institute. Also, we are really glad to welcome Oleksandra Koval, director of the Ukrainian Book Institute, and Olia Hnatiuk, researcher, professor of Kiev Makela Academy and Warsaw University. And also, Olia is vice president of PEN Ukraine. So what we are going to do today, we are going to present a new award that starts today, Drahoman Prize it is called, and it is for people who translate Ukrainian literature, Ukrainian books into the languages of the world. Mr. Andrii Kurkov, you are the president of PEN Ukraine, you are the initiator of this award. So what is this award, what is its aim, and why it was worth introducing it? Good afternoon, everyone. I greet everyone with this event. We cannot even imagine in details how important this event is. From today, you may be able to apply for Drahoman Prize for translators from Ukrainian, no matter where they live, into what languages they translate. The main is quality of translation. So they may translate to writers who are alive and who are not alive, and these books should be throughout the world into bookstores. The image of Ukraine depends 50 or 60% on literature, on presentation of Ukrainian literature in the world, because countries get to be known in the world through literature. People do not afraid of these countries. They get interest what people write there. Without translators, all these processes will be lagging behind. That's why countries remain in shadows and no one knows about such countries. Some countries, they are not able to reach the world level of presentation in the world. Ukraine, thank God, is in the world process of literature in different countries, and the translations are printed, and these writers, they become representatives of Ukraine, and they are invited not only to presentations but also to social and political discussions as diplomats. In this way, literature becomes the instrument of diplomacy. That's why we have a representative of Ukrainian Institute of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, because I believe that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, this is the biggest drive in our country, the state organization that does really a lot for Ukrainian culture and for representation of Ukraine in the world. Going back to translators. Without translators, this process is non-existent. The translator is also a diplomat. He finds the text, he finds the publishers. And if the publisher is satisfied with the book, then the work continues. And this translator continues its work with author and with publisher, and I know how it is in reality. And connections are built that are going on for tens of years. We know many legends about relations between translators, publishers, and writers. And translator becomes a legend, and publisher also becomes a legend. I'm really nervous now, but I am usually really calm, but I really like this event today. I know many translators. I know that they volunteer, they work not for money, but for idea to present Ukraine in the world, in England, France, Spain, in different languages. And now this award allows us to get them together. This is a foundation to create an efficient association of translators from Ukrainian language. And in this way, we create diplomatic cultural institution abroad. I would like to bring a small example. 20 years ago, Ireland, when there were no interpreters of their language in Europe and in the world, they, through state funding, invited all young people who are interested in linguistics to go to Ireland and to study their language for not less than 6 months. Everything was paid for. In the result, the country that has 250,000 of population, they have the same niche, even more, like Bulgaria, for example, or Baltic states. So potential of Ukrainian literature is bigger than our proportional representation of our literature, of our writers in the world market. And this award should work for this potential, for implementation of the potential. Thank you, Andrei, and we hope that this will be the scenario, and this will be even a better scenario of Ukrainian award. Tetiana, you represent the Ukrainian Institute. You're dealing with cultural diplomacy. Why it is called the Drahoman Prize, why we have such an illusion. So the vision is in the title of the award. Thank you for this question. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. This is really exciting day for me, and we of course understand why it is really important to translate to other languages, to other cultures, because cultural diplomacy is about intercultural translations. And this was important for us to create this base, and we searched for the word Drahoman. This notion appeared, and we understood that it covers this relation between the culture, translation, and from the other side, to create understanding between different countries, between different nations. For Ukrainian Institute, this is a really important project because this award is one of the main elements of our strategy. Working in different sectors, we have a number of awards we present in the sphere of cinema, theater. We have a separate, very important project we implement with UNO Women. This is the award for women in arts. This is really important for us. And the Drahoman Award, this is the first in the sphere of literature. We hope that we will have more such awards. We understand why it is important for us, and the same institutions in the world, they have such awards, and they honor and give proper attention to people due to whom these translations happen. And the ministries of different countries, they provide awards for translators, and Ukraine also should not be lagging behind in this, because our potential is not implemented and is not fully implemented. So our colleagues from Poland, they found in translation award, and Andrei didn't mention this, but throughout the world there are analogous awards for translators, and this is really a pleasure that Ukraine joins this process.
Thank you, Tetiana. Ms. Oleksandra, you're director of the Ukrainian Institute, Ukrainian Book Institute. As far as I know, you also have a program to support translations of Ukrainian books. In your opinion, what is the importance of this new prize, Drahoman Prize? How it will be different from the previous prizes? Thank you. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Mr. Kurkov, to Ms. Tetiana Filevska, who showed this demonstrated courage establishing this new prize and invested much effort to it. Today, foreign publishing houses may nominate the translators to this prize. I may explain why this prize is so important for me. During the Publishers Forum, when we were announcing winners of different publishers' prizes, we realized suddenly that translators remained without prize, and we started to think how to celebrate their work, and eventually when we invented something how to mark the importance of translation, I noticed tears on their eyes. The translators were so much moved with the fact that for a long period of time somebody had noticed their work, and since that moment, I kept in mind that we have to do something for translators to mark them with special signs. Started we with launching with the new program support for the new program of translations. We have translated 57 Ukrainian books, and after the Revolution of Dignity since 2014, we noticed that the demand and interest in Ukrainian books had grown everywhere in the world. This initiative was demonstrated by the publishers from other countries. Before that, before 2014, Ukraine was not well known in the world, and after the Revolution of Dignity, during this 6-year period, we translated more Ukrainian books than it was during the period of independence from 1991 to 2014. I understand that that the trend has a chances to continue, and I hope that each year we will see the growth of the number of Ukrainian books which are translated and published all around the world. I believe that this ceremony, the award ceremony, will be very beautiful, and that more and more people would realize the importance of this work, the translators' work. We expect to have 3 winners at least, and this will bring them into the light, and later on, we will bring all the translators together to a big forum. For me, Poland is a good example. They support their translators, they bring them together, they organize meetings where translators demonstrate how important is the work. I'm now happy to ask the question to Ms. Olia Hnatiuk. You know quite well the Polish experience on the one hand, on the other hand, you know Ukrainian situation quite well. Could you please explain the situation with the Ukrainian literature, how it is known, whether it is known abroad, whether there is any interest to it, at least in Poland, for example. Thank you so much for your question. Actually, your question would allow me to speak long hours, the whole lecture. That's why if I speak too long, please stop me at any moment. In my opinion, such a word had been necessary for a long period of time, and I think that not only translators will benefit from it, also publishing houses will benefit from it, because when you publish a book which is translation from foreign language, you have then to promote this book, and in this respect such a prize may draw attention and raise awareness in society about publication of foreign books, and later on people start to pay more attention at the publishing house and at the books that it publishes. In my work, I have an experience of a translator. I recollect 1990s when in Poland I also played the role of translator, and we made a big breakthrough in translations of Polish literature. At that time, we were young, we were courageous, and we were able to make very ambitious plans and projects. At that time, I recollect, within 1 month, so we prepared the anthology of Ukrainian literature, and from the moment when we started to translate Ukrainian literature, and that first experience had immediately proved that Ukrainian literature was worth to be read, especially when we translated Yuri Androchovich, and the Poles at that time kept saying that they did not have such an interesting author as Yuri Androchovich. So translation brings us to the idea that the beauty of the world is in its diversity, and this idea and this statement allows us to promote Ukrainian literature abroad. This example shows how important it is. Poland is interesting. Polish experience is interesting and is a exclusive example, and not only in the way that they promote very skillfully their literature. You may think about Poland, about British Council, about Goethe Institute, etc. Institute Française. But all those, they are institutions which were established a long time ago, and it's quite clear when they are successful in promotion of their literature. While Poland is a young democracy, and it is not not as rich country as the old democracies, but nevertheless they have raised a broad group, big group of people who translate from the Polish language, and they have established the whole network of Polish translators all around the world. Looking at that, I'm wishing to this new prize that within several years it had become as distinguished, as highly respected as its Polish analogues. The Ukrainian studies departments in many universities should not be seen as the only source of potential translators from Ukrainian languages. We have now a good experience of the Polish translators who translate from Ukrainian into Polish and had already translated almost all the interesting authors from Ukrainian into Polish, but those young translators, they are not from the Ukrainian studies departments, Ukrainian studies departments, because translation, there is something different from Ukrainian studies. Of course, Ukrainian Institute may devote attention to the Ukrainian studies departments in many universities in many countries, but translation should be something separate from it, some separate area of attention, which suggests that we should offer and promote different programs, not only support to the translation as part of the Ukrainian studies, but all different directions. Andrii, we understand that translation, it's a universe, a big separate occupation. What are your criteria for the prize applicants? Who can apply for the prize? Translator himself or herself cannot apply for the prize. I forgot to mention that the uniqueness of this prize is that it is established by two state institutions and one non-governmental institution. In our case, we have Ukrainian Book Institute, Ukrainian Institute, and Ukrainian PEN Club. The candidate may be nominated by creative unions, or associations of interpreters from different countries, and also, and of course, in first term, by publishers, by publishing houses. The jury will comprise 9 members, including director of the Ukrainian Institute, the director of the Ukrainian Book Institute, and director of Ukrainian PEN Club. That is Mr. Volodymyr Sheyko, Ms. Koval, me, myself, then Natalia Hnatiuk, Marco Stech from Canada, Yurko Prohasko, famous translator, Ostap Slavinsky, a poet and translator and active member of Ukrainian PEN Club, and Valentina Stokala from Ukrainian Institute Institute, who works with French programs, French language programs. I would like to ask a question about the variety of languages. Actually, as far as I understood, the translations maybe from broader range of languages like Chinese, for example, and in this case you will require additional experts. Please do not forget that PEN Club unites colleagues from all around the world, and we have access to people who may evaluate the book written or translated from Chinese, from Japanese, from other languages, because our members work everywhere. Now let's continue our discussion about criteria. What about the time frames set for time horizon for translations? What is who is eligible for the prize? 1 year publication, 3 years publication. So this should be a book, a translation, which was made not later than 3 years ago. Also, I would refer to what Olia Hnatiuk mentioned. This year, we have launched our contest named after Lysiak Rudnitsky and received half of the nominees to this contest who presented their poetical translations. This demonstrates that maybe Drahoman Prize would not resolve all the problems related to translation, but nevertheless it will satisfy at least some demand for this cultural product. Let us now discuss more the membership of the capitula, that is, of the jury of this context. Olesio, would you please explain how you will select members of the jury and for how long they would stay in the jury, work in the jury, and how this will work in general? I would like to give the floor to Andrii Kurkov. What we will try to do, we will try to organize offline meetings at the final stages. We will try to do this depending on the situation. But the beginning, the primary familiarization with the participants would happen online, of course, and three members of the jury, that is, representatives from three founders of the prize, are permanent members, while other participants could be rotated from year to year depending on the situation. Ola, now a question to you. To which extent the country which publishes the book would play the role at the support of the nominee. I understand that it is not so easy to balance all those different interests. I understand that there might be candidates from the Ukrainian PEN Center, there might be candidates from the Ukrainian Book Institute and from the Ukrainian Institute, that is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And there is always a seduction to give priority to the country which is at this very moment the most important for us. But we have 9 members of the jury, and they will try to balance the interests of the state, that is diplomatic interests, and the professional quality of translation. In my opinion, it is more just to evaluate the quality of translator. Although I understand that for the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, the most just appreciation is the one given to our friend country. For me personally, the quality of translation is the top priority, because we call it Drahoman Prize, that is Translators Prize, because good translation becomes promoter of Ukrainian literature in other worlds, in other cultures. There is no use in my translation if the book does not find its way to the new market and in new surrounding. And now my question about genres. Whether you invite participants, invite nominees from only fiction, those translators who translate fiction, or documentaries also, all other sorts of writings. Although I believe that all the genres of literature might be represented in translation. And now publishers, houses are very much interested in children's books, because children's books are always on demand. Also, poetry had become very popular and very interesting. We were very much surprised to see a big demand for poetry, for Ukrainian poetry. Quite recently, I started to get more and more signals about demand on non-fictional literature, Ukrainian history, Ukrainian politics, Ukrainian to everyday life. That's why I hope that jury will very carefully look at all the nominations. Perhaps we may change genres from year to year. One year take some documentary, another year take some novel or poetry, collection of poetries, and I hope that we primarily will look at the quality of translation. Tetiana.
About the procedure, we understand that starting from today, publishing houses that publish, professional associations that deal with translations, they will be able to submit applications. What will come next? Olia will answer this question better than me. Thank you very much. I'm not really competent to answer this question, but we understand that the day the term ends for application of all the documents, the jury starts its work. First, they verify technically concerning documents. Some time is needed for this, not maybe weeks, but at least several days. Then the members of the jury, they get all documentation. Then they share their opinions, not in the sense of the choice, but in the sense of whether we need to invite some specialist, because we cannot assess translations of Ukrainian documentary into Greek language, for example. Among our members of the jury, for example, there is no specialist like this. And several steps should be made in order to invite such a specialist. But of course, it is necessary to have a competent opinion from the country where this translation appeared. Whether it was present or absent, whether this book got promotion. So this is in full, and I would like to stress that for me the most important is the art of translator. Thank you, Olia. So starting today you may submit applications. This is an opportunity that is open till 30th of November. So this is invitation for publishers to start to submit for this contest. Oleksandra, you've mentioned that Ukrainian Institute, Book Institute will deal with the ceremony. What is the ceremony? How it will look like? And what is the procedure? The ceremony of awarding ceremony is planned for the day of book and copyright. This is 23rd of April. This is a known day for writers and publishers, and I won't give you details about the scenario of the awarding ceremony. We do not know this yet, but I would like that to be with honor, done with honor, and I would like to go back to one important thing in the assessment of the text of translations. This is that really of concern for me. We know such examples, including in Russian translations, when a translator, consciously or unconsciously, fakes some parts of the text, sometimes really significantly. I do not know whether we will be able to follow this, whether experts will be able to identify whether such things appear. For me, this is a really important aspect in our work. We should deal with it. Lost in translation and phone in translation. So maybe we may find something really interesting in such translations. So we do not know about the ceremony. It will take a lot of time to get there first. So submission of documents for this award. There should be a copy of book, a publication, and then there should be application form filled. Package of documents is not big. I would like to stress that in all 3 sites of the founding organizations, this premium, the Ukrainian Institute, the Ukrainian Book Institute, and PEN Ukraine, you may find on their sites detailed information about where to send your documents in order that our audience understand all this. I say about this. One important question that may arise is the award and who pays this money. Who wants to answer? Maybe you all guessed this. This year, the Ukrainian Institute will provide financing concerning the work of the jury. The award, it will be 2,000 euros. The winner will get this money and a statuette. It will be produced, it will be first designed by a modern Ukrainian sculpture. And this is the basic package, and then we provide additional opportunities for this translator in the form of attending some international events concerning literature or presentations of Ukrainian culture abroad. He may be invited as a speaker, lecturer, in different roles. And also, we provide identity image. This is our contribution this year, and we hope that next year financial contribution, the financial award will have additional bonuses to draw attention to Ukrainian language, literature, to prestige, to study, to translate from this language. And we hope that in the nearest future we will have more translations from Ukrainian into foreign languages, at least the amount that we have of translations from foreign languages into Ukrainian. And often we understand that there are much more translations from Polish, from French, from German, even from Turkish language. We have more translations like this than translations from Ukrainian into, for example, French or German language. We would like to equal scores. And we would like that our friends from abroad know more about Ukrainian literature, and we hope that we will have this. And we understand that this is possible, and Andrii said that at the Revolution of Dignity, the number of translations significantly increased, and we hope that this award will be one of the factors that influence this, and this will support the translators who are trying to build these bridges between Ukrainian and foreign cultures, European and other cultures. We are open for your questions, and if you watch us, please, you may ask questions. We are waiting for questions, and we have some time for some final remarks. Some important things we want to stress or to invite translators or publishers to some activities. So we have several words for your final remarks. Oleksandra, you're given the floor. What is also important to say today? I believe that important things have been said. Publishers and other institutions that have the right to nominate, they got many information, and the rest is on our sites. I believe that we should stress this important situation. It is non-typical. Two state institutions established this award, and one non-governmental institution also participated. We, with the Ukrainian Institute, we should work in the framework of our responsibilities, and the Ukrainian Book Institute got the obligations to finance in April this year, to finance such translations. 1 year and 8 months this time was needed to convince the officials to pay the grants to foreign publishers. This was a real shock, that not Ukraine asks for grants, but Ukrainian state should pay public money to foreign publishers. But we really got results, and Ukrainian translators will be supported, and we hope that this project will be properly financed next year. Also, I would like to say that not only the winner will be happy, but also the author of the book, the interpreter of which got this Drahoman Award. So the translator translates the book and publishes the book in the country, and his name will be added to the cover and the logo, and it will be said that this is the award for the best translation, and this will give rise not only to the sales of the book in translation, but also will be interesting for other publishers in other countries, and this all will be done through translators. This is a very important point. Thank you. And we would like that this award will be not to reach all the stars, but it will be an opportunity to speak about literature more. And when we return to some normalcy in our life, Ukraine will become a host and will take its proper place in London and in different other book fairs, and we will be able to invite publishers and other entities to apply for our award. So my final word is that this is only a start. This is a modest start, humble start, important start. I have a dream. I see much more that can be done through this award. And I hope that this moment will come when we have residencies in Ukraine for translators from Ukrainian language, that there will be grants for researchers, money for the travel to residencies, that all this appear gradually. Maybe even next year. I really want to be hopeful about this. So we really hope that this award will surprise us even this year. We will follow the events, so we will follow who will be the winner. This is really interesting for us. We thank you a lot for your presentation. I would like to remind you that all the information about the award, you may find it on the main sites of founding organizations. These are the Ukrainian Institute, the Ukrainian PEN Ukraine, and the Ukrainian Book Institute, and there is information about application and all the timeline of the procedure. So we end our press conference. Ukraine Crisis Media Center will continue its work. Please follow the schedule on our official page. Thank you very much for your attention.